I'm Sarah Buchanan. I'm the Ontario Climate Program Manager at Environmental Defence. Today I'm going to talk about our new report, Yours to Recover, a progress report on Ontario's climate change actions. And what our new report shows is that Ontario has been claiming that they are making progress on fighting climate change and reducing greenhouse gas emissions. But in fact, evidence shows that they are not, that the only meaningful programs in their environment plan to actually reduce greenhouse gas emissions have been left to gather dust on a shelf. And very little action has actually been taken to fight climate change and reduce greenhouse gas emissions. At the same time, this government has taken a lot of action that would increase greenhouse gas emissions. And we see that reflected in the numbers. Ontario's greenhouse gas emissions in 2018 actually spiked from the year before. That was the year this government took power. Unfortunately, Ontario's approach to recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic has been to accelerate projects like highways and development projects to increase suburban sprawl, which would then increase greenhouse gas emissions. So despite the opportunity to pivot towards a green recovery, Ontario has done the opposite and is trying to pollute their way out of the COVID-19 pandemic. So Ontario can start very simply by implementing some of the commitments in their environment plan that would have most impact on greenhouse gas emissions and also most potential to stimulate the economy as part of COVID-19 pandemic recovery. One of those actions, for example, is energy efficiency and natural gas conservation. That's a big part of their environment plan. It is the most impactful action that they've promised in the environment plan, but they've done nothing to even start expanding those programs. But study after study shows that the number of jobs that would be created by, for example, helping people insulate their homes better or have more energy efficient windows would be absolutely massive and would help stimulate the economy while reducing greenhouse gas emissions. So that's just one example of a program that Ontario can implement that they've already promised to do that could help hit their climate target at the same time as stimulating the economy. Another example is building more transit. And so we are seeing some transit projects move ahead, but then at the same time, we're seeing massive highway projects like Highway 413 west of Toronto. We're seeing that moving ahead. And that's going to get more cars on the road. That's going to pave over farmland. That's going to destroy so many of the green spaces we love. And it's going to create more greenhouse gas emissions from more vehicles on the road. So building more transit is something that we need to see a whole lot more of instead of building highways. And that's another good option for economic recovery as well. Studies show that dollars invested into transit create more job hours than dollars invested into highways. And we learned that from the 2008 economic crash. There's lots of lessons that can be learned, and we don't want to repeat those same mistakes again as part of COVID-19 recovery. It's really natural to hear things like this and wonder, what can I do to help make things better and to help build a better world? And one thing you can do in Ontario is to reach out to your elected representatives, particularly those at the provincial level, your MPPs. And they're the ones responsible for making decisions on how Ontario approaches climate change, whether Ontario implements programs to fight climate change, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, whether Ontario starts to pivot towards a green and just recovery. So we have to hold our decision makers accountable for the decisions that they're making, and demand better when we feel that those decision makers are not making decisions that will lead to a healthier future. So reach out, send an email, give a phone call, introduce yourself to the MPP's staff, and talk about the fact that you are a constituent, that you live there in that community, and the kinds of things that you would like to see change in your community and the kinds of provincial policies you want to see put in place to make your future brighter and healthier and better.